South African cricket captain Themba Bavuma is likely to miss the ICC World Cup semi-final against Australia due to a suspected hamstring injury. Well, very interesting word used here, suspected hamstring injury. This dominates the group stage with 9 wins and gears up for semi-final 1 against New Zealand at Wankhede Stadium on November 15th, 2 p.m. Indian Standard Time. This when you saw India's 302 run victory over Sri Lanka. Well, Wankhede has seen far more battles, far more duels, but this becomes the most important. Not to forget the 2011 World Cup final where Mahendra Singh Dhoni hit it out of the guard. Alright, in this World Cup, Rohit Sharma breaks records as the top run scorer. Remember in 2011, Rohit Sharma was not picked. Piyush Chawla made it to the team. Why? Because the skipper thought that a leg spinner was required. Well, that was the need of the hour then, and this is the man of the hour today, Rohit Sharma. With 503 runs, and Kohli leads overall with 594. Yes, 594 runs, which is 6 short of 600. Something which we never imagined or heard prior to the World Cup, that a batter can actually score close to 600 runs. And guess what? We still have possible 2 matches and certain 1 match in the semi-final for Virat Kohli. Well, Bumrah takes 17 wickets. Shami and Jadeja secure 16 each. India's biggest win by wickets against Afghanistan and by runs against Sri Lanka. Well, we have the stats girl, the international cricketer with us, Tasmin Granger, who's joined us from Zoom from her apartment in New Delhi. Tasmin, what do you make of the Indian bowlers? We'll come to the international, the creatives on your screen right now, but more importantly, I'd like to know, what do you make of the Indian bowling and how different they are? Because you've got 3 of the best bowlers in the world in top 10 for India. Go on, Tasmin.
Good evening to you all, and thanks for having me on the show again. I think it's crazy. I think it's a simple word just to sum it up. Whether you want to tell yourself you're planning to face the seam attack and stay alive, you still need to take into consideration the likes of Kuldeep Yadav and Ravindra Jadeja waiting for you in the middle overs as well. So you have a choice. Stay alive in the first overs, don't really score so many runs, get to the middle overs and try and find a plan for Jadeja. But then it's India. They might just pull out a Virat Kohli or a Rohit Sharma from what we've seen last night. And just, it's a tough one. You know, they're firing on all cylinders. Whether you want to tell yourself there's a chink in their seam bowling attack, you got to face the spinners. Whether you want to tell yourself it's the spinners, there will be the seamers waiting for you. And they showed us they can pull out 9 bowlers last night. So not only plan A, plan B, plan C, but a whole lot of letters in the alphabet.
Well, interesting. Well, we are joined by Noel David. Noel, if you can hear us, Noel, is this the best bowling attack India has ever produced, especially for a World Cup? Yes. The coach is back. He's trying to set his frame.
If you go to see, if you go to see, honestly, Shami's comeback, Siraj and Bumrah, I think this is the best spearhead the Indians have so far produced after Jagwal Srinath or Venkatesh Prasad or Kapil Paji himself. This is the best bowling attack what we have now. And if you find every match, the opposition is not able to cross more than 3 odd runs because these guys are taking the initial wickets. They're getting the breakthroughs and Shami coming in, rattling the rest of them. So as this thing, I think India has the best spearheads in the world at present.
Well, interesting. Well, interesting. Did you ever imagine that a story like Siraj could actually come out and be like a Cinderella man story, coming from rags to riches and his talent being nurtured? Just give us a little insight, because yesterday you gave us just a little bit of Siraj. Just tell us the adversities that he faced and how he made it to the Indian squad, because that's a big story.
Like yesterday I was telling you, he comes from a very low background. You know, his father was an auto rickshaw driver.
Yes.
Hand to mouth was difficult for him. We never knew who Siraj was, honestly. We never knew during my playing day, during my days of coaching or my start of Hyderabad cricketing career as a coach. We never knew. But in the academy, I was in the academy, and during during that period, we had open trial selections for Hyderabad boys. So we found out Siraj, and we found that he is good. He has a good this thing, and this guy, his background is all about playing tennis ball matches. He used to go there handful. He used to get a few odd money to play that tennis ball match. If he wins, they used to call him, "You come and play. We'll give you so much." So he used to do all this. But there is something written, a golden line in life. If you're fortunate enough, God has created a line where it will be fulfilled by Almighty God, and that's happened for this boy. He got selected for the Hyderabad State. He began his career playing for Hyderabad under 23. He was reckoning in straight away. He was the best bowler there. Getting wickets. From there, selectors found he's good, and they put him into Ranji Trophy squad. Unfortunately for him,
no, I'm going to take you back.
Was Bharat Arun.
Your personal first meeting of Siraj, first remembrance of you and Siraj.
I was there at Gymkhana, and I was watching this under 23 boy. By that time, we knew, this boy Siraj bahut tez dalta hai, he is good and all that. There was this thing talk about him, and we were looking, and he was sharp with the new ball, and my interaction with him as a selector, and I was speaking to him, and I said, "See, this is a lifeline for you, and everything can shut down." In your life, if you think positive, if your approach is good, that's the only advice I gave. I said everything will come in place if you just work hard, be honest to yourself, and spend more time in cricket. Everything. Stop. Thinking about too much. Just focus on your game, and everything will fall place. And that's what the boy has done. It was all written for him in his life. Bharat Arun was a blessing in disguise. He came. He nurtured him. That season, he's got 40 to 45 wickets in Ranji Trophy. RCB selected him, and then Siraj, India knew who Siraj was.
Brilliant.
There was no looking back for this youngster.
Wonderful, wonderful. This is a story where the seniors actually nurture a talent. David, welcome to the show. We're talking about Siraj and Noel David. Noel David, former India international player, also selector, coach. He's donned various hats, but he comes from the same city as Siraj. David, I want to ask you, what has impressed you most of the Indian bowling? Because in few hours' time, they're going to take New Zealand in the semi-final. Your views?
Well, they've all been impressive. I mean, Siraj, outstanding. But I've always seen him as an outstanding bowler. I haven't seen a game where he hasn't made an impact that he's played it. Bumrah, of course, is quality. And then Shami, well, when he was left out, then given his opportunity, my God, he grasped it with both hands, didn't he? And then if you're looking for some light relief as a batter up against India, you then got to deal with Jadeja and Kuldeep. So there is no weak link. That's with our Ashwin and Axar Patel in reserve. So where have you got to hide? There's no hiding place, which is why no team has managed to score anything near 300 against them in this World Cup.
Well, interesting. Tasmin, what do you have stats about the Indian bowling? What excites you, and what is it, that one thing that you can pinpoint with some stats on it? Tasmin?
Definitely, I'm even going to not even set it up for tomorrow, because a lot of debates coming about saying that, the game yesterday against Netherlands doesn't really count. But I just want to point out the fact, I'm going to just do this one for the fans and exclude the Netherlands games from these stats and just let you know what's been going on. Prior to the game yesterday against the Netherlands, Siraj's economy was 5.23. Jasper Bumrah's economy was 3.65. Not only is Jasper Bumrah's economy below the normal standard for seam bowlers, I'd say around about 4, 5 and over, But there's spin bowlers that are actually way more expensive than him, in the likes of Adam Zampa even, that finds himself within the top 5 of these World Cup bowling rankings.
Well,
You still have Mohammad Shami, who's at 4.30. That's his economy as well, currently in this tournament. So I think for me, it speaks volumes in its own. Before you even try and start deciding, oh, who's a better bowler, who's a different bowler, go down to the economy. Yeah, they may not be at the top because of taking wickets in the likes of Murray Shankar or anybody else, but for me, it's these guys that create the pressure. I'll keep saying this over and over again. Winning a game as a bowler doesn't always necessarily mean taking wickets, but it also means those guys that come out there and they dry up runs. People that no one wants to face in the likes of Jasper Bumrah, because, yeah, sure, he may be fine, but then you have Siraj, who comes and he bowls with a scramble seam. This automatically becomes a problem for anybody batting facing him, because you don't know which way the ball is going to swing, but it's definitely going to move. And that's something you got to be wary of as well.
You know, we often talk about the great talent, the great bowling statistics, and somewhere in the entire noise, and this question is for Noel David, we forget the hands that actually curate or sculpt the talent. Noel has been very kind enough to mention Bharat Arun, a man that you would only find his accomplishments in the statistical book of the history of Indian cricket as a fast bowler, played alongside Kapil Dev. But when he came on as a coach, he was a devastating piece, and he was brilliant as a deputy to Ravi Shastri. Noel, could you just tell us how Bharat Arun handled Siraj? Because Siraj is a fascinating story as well as intriguing, considering the way he's been bowling in the World Cup. But kudos to Bharat Arun. Just a few words on Bharat Arun, and then we'll shift our focus back on the Indian bowling attack.
Yeah, Bharat was a bowling coach, faculty in the NCA. Okay,
Right.
so vast knowledge of coaching he has behind him, and apparently he was coaching the Hyderabad Ranji Trophy team, and this lad Siraj was selected. He was under Bharat, and Bharat knew his background a lot. Bharat knew this boy has the immense talent. He has everything in him, but comes from a very low background. The first thing what Bharat took over Siraj was change his line and length, changed his way of thinking, brought him into a system where he only thought that he needs to take wickets and wickets and wickets. He never modified his action. He never thought a lot about what to do. He only concentrated where he has to exactly bowl, what is his bowling options given to him, when to bowl, what batsman. As I said yesterday, he made him to think a lot, especially when he made his debut to India and when he was dropped. Again, Bharat brought him back. Bharat took over again to him and started to introduce himself, only to tell him, your line and length is more up, not short. And that's where Siraj has moved on from a different bowler to a well-leveled, matured, you can say, where he stands now as one of the main spearhead for the Indian team. And I appreciate Bharat Arun for that, because Bharat Arun is the one guy who supported him during his phase of his career and still supporting him whenever he needs help from Bharat.
Absolutely.
And I thank him for that.
Absolutely. That was a quick word of thanks to Bharat Arun. Now let's move on to David Brooks. David, which is the other bowler that has impressed you in the Indian ranks? I think it's going to be Mohammad Shami.
It has to be Shami. Yeah, it has to be Shami. We always like to see what happens when a guy of Shami's quality gets left out of the team. I know there's been a recent history around him. So when he's given the opportunity to come back in and to make the impression that he did, have the impact that he had, immediately took, was it 2 wickets in the very first over?
Yes.
He really, talk about reintroducing yourself, re-announcing yourself onto the stage. And, well, it would be very hard to drop him after that performance. And then he repeated it, didn't he? A five, I think. Tasmin will correct me on that, but I think he picked up a 5 and a 4 in quick succession. But it was the manner of the wickets, Suddenly we were in a test match. Suddenly the batter had to really think about what they're doing. Every ball was a threat, and suddenly it was about defending your wicket. never mind scoring runs. And that little bit of what Shami did for me was he kind of gave us all a bit of a feel of a little test match suddenly. And you, with the ball moving around, and he seemed to have it on a string. You know, with Shami, you don't get any loose balls. You don't get the one and over that you can put away for to take the pressure off. It was just on you the whole time. And it was too much for any of the teams that I saw come up against it.
I think the current Indian attack, there's a fan question which asks, does this Indian bowling attack remind us of Pakistan's 2003 World Cup team, David? And then Noel, because he's seen both the eras very closely. Yes, David.
Well, we were discussing on yesterday's program that this has to be the best bowling attack India has ever put in the World Cup. Right. Now, who does it compare to? Yes, Pakistan 2003 with, if I'm not mistaken, Wasim Akram, Waqar Younis.
Shoaib Akhtar.
Yeah, that was a formidable attack, and of course supported by, in the spin department,
Saqlain and Mushtaq.
Yes, Mushtaq Ahmed. I mean, I'm from Sussex, and we don't need to be told anything about Mushtaq. He played for Sussex for 10 years as an overseas player, 100 wickets every season. There's even a bus named after him now. and Saqlain Mushtaq performed with the same distinction for Pakistan and Surrey. So that was an almighty attack. And that would be the one that springs to mind. I mean, the West Indies attacks of the 70s and 80s weren't too shabby either. Although Viv Richards had to turn his arm over on one occasion to make up the numbers, but they had 4 very fast bowlers to contend with.
Absolutely. So, in a way, Noel, do you think this is comparable to one of the best Pakistan attack ever?
Absolutely. You know, as Brooks said, you know, if you take the '93 World Cup for Pakistan with Imran himself, Aqib Javed, Waqar Younis, Wasim Akram, can you imagine these 4 gentlemen bowling in one team along and destroying the opposition? The same thing with these 3-man gentlemen, Shami himself, Siraj and Bumrah. You know, I feel it's a competition between the '93 and the 2023 spearheads. You know, it's a similar lines they are following.
Well, absolutely. Tasmin, you have some stats to back your...
Hats off to this region.
Absolutely. Tasmin, just come in here and just support the argument with some stats that you may have.
Yeah, definitely. You know, so I just have one to back up David on that Mohammad Shami actually comment. If you go into the best strike rates this far, this World Cup, David, you are correct. Mohammad Shami does have 1 5-wicket haul, but not just one. He's got 2 fifers and 1 forfeit to his name currently in this tournament. His strike rate is 12 right now. And if it wasn't for Rohit Sharma's, spectacular over yesterday, if you want to call him that, he's currently sitting at the top of the log with just 1 wicket so far for 7 runs because, you know, he bowled 0.5 overs. He didn't even get to finish his over before he did damage. Mohammad Shami would actually be at the top of that list with best figures of 5 for 18 and an economy rate of 4.78. That does show you how lethal Mohammad Shami is and how he's just literally grabbed the opportunity with both hands this World Cup.
Now, you seem to have worked with the younger generation players. In the generation of David Brooks, which was many centuries ago, we'll come back to today's generation. Do you think they announce their presence by glaring at you, by proving a point like Shami did, saying that, hey, give me the ball and I'll make your life miserable? Was there an inner battle going between his talent and the way he was dropped?
Well, if there was, I didn't notice, and I don't think most fans would have noticed. To me, Shami's the ultimate professional, consummate professional. Yes, he was left out. He came in and demonstrated why he's one of the world's leading strike bowlers. And I didn't see any theatrics or pointing batters back to the pavilion or any of that from him. In fact, remarkably muted celebrations. And as if to say, that's my job. I'm a quality bowler.
I'm here to do my job. Well, fair enough point. Let's move on to Noel David. I think there's a confusion between one David Brooks and the other Noel David. But Noel David, we've spoken highly of the fast bowlers. What about the spinners? They've been doing a fairly good job.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Take Jadeja. Now he's a destroyer on a wicket where you give him a little chance of turn and he'll run through the batsman. And let's go with Kuldeep. A raw deal in start during his career, but what a comeback! What a comeback by this youngster. He has proved that he's worth for the Indian team during that middle overs, and he has proved that he is the key bowler to get you breaks when it's really needed. And he's doing that so far. He's been splendid in Asia Cup. He's been splendid in this World Cup, and on a turning track or any wickets, he's purchasing, getting them. And we all know what Sir Jadeja is all about. You give him that opportunity, he will bite you through. He will get you through, and that's what he's doing. Any turning track, any wicket, if wicket is flat for batting, his straighter ones comes in hand, LBW chances. If it's turning, then the slips comes into play. Everything comes into play when he is that. So he's a great thinker. He gets wickets, and I think the way he has transformed himself as an all-rounder, it's hats off. He's the best fielder. He can bat the middle, come down and bat, and you give him the 10-over spell, he gets you wickets. So the spinners, and there's one sitting almost in the ranks. Not to forget Ashwin.
Absolutely.
He's already sitting waiting for his chance.
Just imagine the off spinner, who's supposed to be one of the best off spinners in the Test cricket, is cooling his heels, and nobody is even bothering to feel his absence, which is, from a fan's perspective, not a right thing, but from a country's perspective, is very good. Well, Tasmin, before we wrap up the show, do you have any weak link in the Indian bowling, according to you, when you have the stats in front of you?
No, personally, to be honest with you. I think in this case, it's more or less whichever team is willing to come and take them on and not give up the chance, to be honest with you. Here and there, we've seen a few times where the spinners maybe have just faltered a bit in adjusting to what was going on the pitch. But the thing is, they're quick to rectify their errors. They don't take too long to actually bounce back, as we've just heard already. So I think it's pretty, I wouldn't say flawless, but it's as close as it gets to flawless for me from the Indians.
Well, absolutely. We have a unanimous house which says that Indian batting has been superior as compared to the other teams, but it's the bowling that does the trick for India.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.